Yes, I do. Okay, it is Thursday, July 30th, 2020, and I'd like to bring the meeting of the Douglas Board of Health to order. On the agenda, we have, one moment, please. Okay, we have Breezy Acres discussion and vote to direct health agent to take all steps possible to document and issue citations against Breezy Acres. That's number one. Number two is discuss and vote to authorize the health agent to rely upon the daily reports of the Douglas Police Department in constructing her daily citation letters to Breezy Acres. Okay, Emily, would you like to make any comments or?
Yes, absolutely. So that kind of was taken from directions kind of from Matt. So I've been talking with Rich, the town council, and he said for us to just be documenting, daily if possible, like if the water slides are open, if masks are being worn, etc. That I don't need to be citing them daily. And I also talked with Mary from DLS today, and they're also going to be relying on me and my reports to also help them know what's going on at Breezy Acres and issue whatever
Okay.
they need as well.
Right. What I do want to know is you've been making regular stopovers there?
For the most part, but when I was also talking with Rich, he did confirm that other members of the board can send him in these emails, and that can be used as evidence. It doesn't have to just come from me. And even if the public sends a complaint or a picture, we can use that as well.
Okay.
Because I work full time still, and when I get there at 5:30, it's hard to know where the water slides running today. So people who are there, closer can go, in the morning. That'd be better.
Okay. Okay. So.
But if he's also going to be having the police check this, then we can use that as well.
Yes. Does anybody else have any comments on?
So
Dick? Yep.
Do we have to make a motion at all then for Emily to issue citations or do anything of that sort? Or do we have? Is there a motion to be made?
I'm wondering if there's a motion for other board members to be able
to go and to go and do the or the drive-by inspections or.
Well, actually, I mean, she does have the authority to direct health agent. I mean, to issue citations. She has that authority as it is. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen.
I would vote on both of those.
You think we should take a vote on both?
I would. Doesn't mean that.
Okay. Does anybody else have? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It just means that you have the authority to do it. It's just giving you the authority to do it.
Right.
And before, two things. One, if I could just comment on I'm not sure if there's a formal motion pending or not, but if I could just comment about just sort of how that was teed up, and then I'm not sure about the schedule of this proceedings, but even after I make this comment, I was wondering if I could just have a moment of time after any formal votes are taken, just to address the board, if that'd be possible.
Sure, we can do that for you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. So just the comment before, and this might tie into subsequent comments after any votes. I just want the record to reflect that authorizing Agent Laflamme, I just would hope that any citations in accordance with the directives from the Department of Labor Standards and the executive orders of the enforcement schedule, of not escalating prior to issuance of the verbal reprimands, written reprimands regarding any purported violations. So just at least honoring that structure as I understand the regulations to dictate.
Well, to be quite honest with you, Tom, I really don't fully understand what you're trying to say. I'm not an attorney. Does anybody else, can anybody else make a comment on that? I'm kind of confused.
I'm sorry, Bob. I'm in the same boat. I mean,
Yeah.
I followed part of it, but like you say,
Right.
I've never studied law, so
We can talk plumbing though.
right. I can talk that with you. Yeah, I can talk a lot of things, but there was that
Right.
was a lot of law talk there.
I'm not joking, right? Really, Tom.
No,
I
have our lawyer, so I'm not.
maybe
really
you
sure.
can, maybe if you can condense that a little bit to help us
Sure.
out.
And it looks like Mr. Bowen might have just joined, actually.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh, good.
Hi, Rich Bowen here.
Hi,
Hello.
Rich. How are you?
I would ask
Good.
that he repeat that last statement to our
Yes.
counsel so that we can be advised.
So what's
Sure.
up there, Tom?
Sure.
I'm sorry.
So just to back up, I discussed that I'd just like an opportunity to comment generally to the board after any formal matters, and the chairman was granted sort of that period of time. The initial comment before the pending, I'm not sure if a vote is actually formally pending or if it's been seconded or otherwise, but the brief comment I wanted to make was with respect to this first item of discussion. It was about authorizing citations to be issued by Agent Laflamme. And the only prefatory comment I just wanted to interject there was that I would hope that any citations or any further enforcement action from Agent Laflamme would be in accordance with the enforcement guidance that has been issued by the Department of Labor Standards regarding a set process, and not acting in addition or stricter to that set enforcement scheme.
Hey, well, Tom, Emily can go out under Chapter 111, Section 122, and cite him for nuisance violations. What we've heard is that, and I've shared some of these complaints with you. People are lining up there to get in. They're all crowded in like sardines. There are lines at the water slides, just no social distancing at all. There are no masks. I heard at one point, and I guess Emily would have to comment on it, whether she was able to verify it, that there was no running water in one or more of the restrooms. So obviously, if these are the sorts of things that she's finding, she can cite under Chapter 111, Section 122, and it doesn't matter what's happening with the DOS stuff. I mean, the Board of Health has its own independent jurisdiction, as well as the authority to concurrent jurisdiction to enforce the state orders. So, they can kind of cite whatever they see.
Sure. And if I just address some of the, I think, evidence and not trying to make this dialogue right here confrontational.
No, Tom, don't worry about it. Hey, look, no, stop there. Don't worry about it. There's a problem. I think if we all speak frankly, as I know you will, we'll get to the bottom of it and maybe work things out in a good way. So
yes, and I hope that we can. And I just want to one comment that was kind of interjected there. Certainly, we would dispute a lot of the factual things. I think there was one element in there about something about running water, and I know Mr. Forget would be able to speak to it. I think it was a situation of the individual just not knowing how to operate automatic water. But I don't want to get too far afield. I think. Rich, I think you just missed the precatory comment of the vote was specifically, as I understood it, to be in connection with COVID-19 enforcement. Obviously,
Yeah.
you stated to other, powers that the Board of Health has. And my precatory comment was about just following the DLS enforcement guidance with respect to COVID-19 related enforcement matters. So that was just the precatory comment that I wanted to make there
Okay.
before a general comment.
Sure, sure. So board, what did you vote on before I came in?
We haven't voted yet. We haven't,
Oh,
we didn't have a motion to the floor yet, no. We
All
haven't
right.
voted. No.
Okay. Well-
And I'm not sure we actually have to vote because I do have all that authority already.
Yeah. So what are we doing?
Well, what the agenda tells me is that we're voting on the, to approve our agent to give out citations. That's what I see.
Okay.
Am I
Well,
right or wrong?
Bob, this is Dick Skinner. I would point out
Yep.
that we are not in executive session, and maybe we need to be.
No,
No,
just
no, we
speaking
open the meeting.
speaking as your counsel on this, I would not go into executive session for this reason. There's no secret strategy to be discussed here. It's
Right.
considered to be an open violation. And if you consider it an open violation, then let's be open about it. Authorize the health agent to do as she needs to do. Tom, their attorney, and Tom, I hope you don't mind me referring to you by your first name. I want you to hear this stuff because if there's a problem, it's got to be fixed. And if you hear about the problem, you'll be better positioned to fix it. So,
So, Rich, what I can see is first on the agenda, we had to make a motion for Emily to issue citations at Breezy Acres. That's the first part of the,
Took all steps necessary, so I think we could say that.
so I'd just have someone move as stated, get a second, discuss it and vote it.
sure. So,
So moved.
okay, it's moved.
Second,
Discussion? No discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
You want to take a roll? Hey, Mr. Chairman, you want to take a roll call because
Okay, sure.
Zoom.
Okay, Corey?
Yep. Corey Howard here.
Okay, Dick,
Dick Skinner, aye.
Emily,
Aye.
Taylor Flam, aye.
Robert Brazo, aye.
Okay, sounds like the motion carried.
Yep, motion carried. Okay, next on the agenda, we have, let's see. Okay, so next on the agenda, we discuss the vote to authorize the health agent to rely upon the daily reports of the Douglas Police Department in instructing her daily citation letters to Breezy Acres.
So moved.
Okay,
Well, okay, go ahead.
Just comment on that as well. To the extent, and I think Agent LaFamme has already sort of identified, she's empowered to perform her job, but to the extent that there's a vote being taken to construe or modify, the powers that she's already imbued with and suggesting that she has to rely on certain evidence, not rely on other evidence. I mean, I think Agent LaFamme, if I may, was hinting at the idea that, she is empowered to perform her job in accordance with the mandate and directives that are already incumbent upon her.
Given Tom's statement to Emily, I think I can give a clarifying instruction if that's what you'd like.
Yeah,
But here it is. The board can vote that motion. You receive the police report and you give them the weight that you deem appropriate in the circumstances.
mhm. Okay,
So it's not a handcuff on you. It's, it's an opportunity.
So Dick, does that clarify the motion? Dick,
Yes,
that clarifies the motion?
I'm all set.
All right, I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Corey Howard, aye.
Okay,
Dick Skinner, aye.
Emily Laflamme, aye.
okay, Robert Brazo, aye. Okay, the motion is passed. Okay, where do we go from here?
Well, I'll just report to the board. Obviously, Emily will be following up on her previous citations. The Board of Selectmen voted on Tuesday night, I wasn't there, to authorize me to go into court to seek some kind of court order to get some enforcement going. So they've authorized me to do it. It doesn't mean I have to do it. Doesn't mean I will do it, but it gives me the authority to do it if that's the way it has to roll.
Okay,
Now,
so Rich, you're saying that with cooperation, we can probably work this out without ending up in court. Is that what you're kind of indicating?
well, yeah, I mean, and let me lay it out, and I have no hesitancy in saying this in front of Tom because I want Tom to hear my thoughts on it as well.
Sure.
You know, we have two levels of violation or alleged violation. I'll say that for Tom. You have the state level ones, and then you have local level ones. Now, what the state likely wants us to do is to go in and enforce their order for them so that they don't have to do it themselves. That's the way the state has been rolling on this throughout the Commonwealth. Obviously, they don't have the resources to go out and do all the enforcement themselves. And frankly, they really don't want to. So I've had conversations or exchanges with the director, Mr. Flanagan, who has been fairly unyielding. You know, my original thought was that we go out on the site, we look it over, see what's going on, and try to come up with what I'll call a consent agreement where the property owner agrees to certain things taking place. So we're all standing there, we're all looking at the same thing. We agree to what needs to be done. And then the town signs the document, the property owner signs the document. And as long as the property owner does what everybody agreed should be done, case closed, we're all done. I did try to rope the state into this because I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity just to make a clean sweep of all the problems. And there was some cross communication on that. I think at one point, Mr. Flanagan or one of his subordinates was willing to come out and do it. But ultimately they decided that, you know, they changed their mind. So they didn't want to do it. And they were going to be absolutely unyielding in their approach towards addressing this part. Well, you know, that's fine that they're going to be unyielding if they're the ones who are going to go out and be doing the enforcement going into court.
Hey, Rick,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say I did talk to Mary, who works for Mike Flanagan, and she contacted Kristen today, and I got a hold of her. It does sound like she is relying on me to just for daily updates, but it sounds like they will be enforcing it themselves.
So they'll be taking their own trip to court.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll have to see how that pans out. They don't get to court a whole lot, but we'll see. And I'll reach out to Mr. Flanagan to try to clarify his intentions in that regard. But long story short, they did not want to participate in any consent agreement. So how does this affect us? Obviously, it means that we couldn't make any agreement as to the state code issues and that we would be looking at our own code issues. Assuming we don't get our own code issues resolved, I guess probably what I would end up doing would be to bring a complaint in Superior Court. I would name the park. And then as necessary parties, I would name the governor, the lieutenant governor, the commissioner of public health, and probably whoever's in charge of the Bureau of Labor Standards these days, just so all the necessary parties were roped in. And then I would have to seek an injunction based on the state order and our own orders. It sounds like, wow, you're suing a lot of people. Not really. It's just, I've done it a million times. And if we have to do it here, that's what we'll do. So I think in terms of authorizations, I have everything I need. Emily, I think in terms of your following up and just keeping us posted as to whether things are coming into compliance, that's important to know. And, if things, we'll call them the town issues, are coming into line, well, then maybe that just leaves the state issue and then the state can do what it wants. We're not necessarily on the same team.
Hmm.
Certainly that's the impression they've given me.
Their attitudes seem to have changed a little bit, but yeah, for sure. And I think that with the vote that we just took, the police will definitely be there, every day checking. And I think that, as we've discussed too, it kind of gives me the authority to let other board members also help in taking documentation.
Yeah. So Tom, you've kind of heard me and Emily and the other members lay our cards on the table as to what's ahead. What do you have to say?
Sure, and thanks for taking the time. Now he popped in here at the beginning, but it was in the middle of the board votes. But Mr. Forget is on the line as well.
Oh, Keith or Ron?
Keith is.
Oh well, Keith, please tell your dad that Rich Bowen says hello.
Okay.
He's a nice guy. I worked with him for many years.
Okay, I will.
So large part of us joining this board tonight is one, I just wanted to introduce ourselves. I haven't had the chance, besides speaking with Rich on the phone, of working with any of you. I just wanted to introduce myself and hope through this presentation and any future communications we have of whatever we can do to develop a productive path moving forward. I came into some of this a little late in the sense that there was already a citation issued. It's not as though I was boots on the ground before or anything like that. But I'm up to speed now of where things are situated. I've communicated with everyone at Breezy about what's going on and where we see things. And we obviously reserve all of our rights and remedies. This is something we do take seriously, but we want to be productive about this. We want to be good partners with the town, with the board, with DLS. And to the extent that any of this got off to a wrong start or could have been differently to begin with, we hope that we can repair this and have a productive relationship moving forward. So as part of that is as I view it, in some of the correspondence and citations, there's been allegations of issues with respect to general distancing and in certain general COVID-19 related compliance issues, if we'll call them that, more generalized guidance. That is things that I'm sure you're all aware of. It's been my daily life for the past 4 months, as it is everyone else. We're all trying to figure out where the parameters are as we develop these guidelines. It's all new. It evolves every day. There's information that comes from a variety of sources. On this call alone, think about we referenced 3 different governmental agencies at varying levels. So it's a lot to take into account, especially as a small business owner who's trying to operate, a facility which they've done for now, over 60 years. We're trying, they're trying to, they're trying their best. We're figuring it out. So when there's these issues with these general compliance, we can be productive of it. We can, if you identify them, Agent LaFont, we can try to work to figure out recommendations where it's feasible to implement certain of that guidelines. That's things we can do and we can work on. So hopefully, we relay that sort of impression. On it's been referred to, Rich, I think you called it sort of the state issue, and I'm not sure, is that referring to the issue of the operation of the slides, or I just want to get a sense of what you meant by the state issue?
Yeah, earlier today, members, I shared with Tom an opinion, I guess that's what the state's referring to, as to how the state views this facility and when it should be open. And it appears to be the state's view that this is a water park and that it shouldn't be open until phase 4, which at this point would be what, September? I don't know, the deadline keeps sliding. So
well, let me sorry, Rich, just to clarify there, the official position of DLS is it's just the water slides only. All other components of the park unambiguously are permitted to be open. That's actually the latest from DLS.
But Tom, when did that change happen? Because that opinion seemed to be taking the view that the whole thing was a water park.
No, that is not. So I'm very glad we're here. The following activities are eligible to be open in phase 3. The businesses are required to follow respective COVID standard for each: beach, swimming area, picnic grounds, and concessions. So
okay,
it is the state's position is very narrow, very circumspect. It is strictly water slide related. So
okay, that's good. That's a huge positive. So let me just come right out with it. And through Tom to you, Keith. I mean, I know the water slides are a big draw. That's, people get very excited about the water slides, and that's what the property is known for. But why not just get this monkey off your back by closing the water slides till the next phase? So, the whole state is gone.
So if I may, and Keith, I can respond to that. So Rich, so that the official, as we understand, the official position from the state is all other components of the park are fine to open. They can proceed as is. So the limited issue of the slides, I reviewed the very, very narrow opinion letter, which there's not a lot of analysis in it. And quite frankly, based on my review of all of the other guidelines, there's substantial fodder for that being, all the parade of horribles that you cite in administrative procedures, things of in phase 1, explicitly in phase 1, alpine slides are permitted to be open. In phase 2, pool areas are permitted to be open. And then in phase 3, indoor pools are allowed, and the guidance specifically indicates that slides are permissible. Explicitly, slides are permissible. And then there's other organizations out there with slides. So it's very tenuous where the grounds get, where an alpine slide is fine in phase 1, but in phase 3, water slides are not permissible when slides in indoor pools are fine. So the legal grounds there is very tenuous for that.
Especially, my point, and that's certainly been an issue with the state guidance throughout. So, for example, why was it that the liquor store could be open and the pot shop couldn't? there's a million examples of those sort of strange consistencies. But as to slides, well, for example, I'm sitting in my town of Wareham office, and just up the street we have a water park that we close called Water Whiz, and they have a number of very large slides, and they're closed. And they wanted to open, and it's like, no, you're a water park, you are closed, even though it's all slides. So, is it a question of degree? Are we talking about a swimming pool where, they've got a little dinky 8 or 10-foot slide, where somebody climbs up on it and slides down into the water? Or are we talking about a facility where a major draw of the facility is some large structure where there's a slide? So I don't think it's a one size fits all.
No, I understand. I understand. But with all that being said, is I wanted to engage in the dialogue moving forward. The sense that I got, and just because it's a whole new world, we're all dealing with this, is that there was a lot of, well, you don't like the slide among the agencies, and we're all kind of trying to figure out where the rules are, where the lines are. And it is what it is. I mean, everyone's just trying to figure this out as we sort of go along. I get the sense that DLS thinks its hands are tied because of that opinion letter. The board gets the sense that its hands are tied because of what DLS is saying. And it gets a little circular without sort of getting to the gut of, okay, where was the genesis of sort of saying this is a water park and those slides can't operate. So, that's something that we, with the caveat that we're going to work very hard to make sure on the other compliance elements of the social distancing, the mask wearing, we're going to work very hard to make sure that we address that. And hopefully don't hear from us again, right? That we're, any issues are addressed quickly. But on the side, that's a very important component of Breezy. I mean, we think that we're in compliance given all of the guidance that's out there. And it is something that I think one way or the other, they're going to have to appeal or try to enforce. And it might, we haven't figured out completely. We haven't set our mind into the path that we're going to go to try to press that in court, that determination. Certainly, I think just the way these things are, just because there's limited activity at the agency, we might have to be in court, as bizarre as things are, fighting over the definition of what is a water slide. But to the extent that there, is a reasonable path forward, if there's, as you initially suggested, potentially some agreement that we can come to between the town, between DLS, of saying, okay, well, provided you have all these other compliance elements in a row, can we maintain the slides? Making sure we're complying with all these other things, considering slides are generally allowed to be there. If it's the question that 3 is the kicker, 3 makes you a water park, possibly we could make it that we do 2-hour slides. Ideally, we'd want to fight to have all 3, and we certainly reserve all of our rights, and that's what we would definitely be pressing for in court. We can potentially have a reasonable discussion of, if we reduce one of the slides, does that reduce the line aspect? So we're willing to entertain that, but either way, it's going to be something that we're going to have to probably press in some fashion, whether that be that temporarily close the slides and then we fight it. Either way, it's going to have to be a fight. But if we're able to come to some agreement, I am sure, even though there's a lot of moving parts, if this board and the town were to, as you said, come to some consent degree, I think we could stop that litigation and we all kind of cooler head prevail and we reasonably work our way through some of these issues.
Tom, let me ask you, just for my own edification, you took an appeal of the state cease and desist order. Now, what's your next step there? Is that going to be going in front of an ALJ, or is it a 30A appeal right to Superior Court, if you know?
My current view is immediately a 30A, just because the lack of explicit indication of having to go through dollar or otherwise. And I also think to the extent that even separate and apart from the adjudicatory hearing, I think there's immediate action in court by way of requesting a interpretation of a declaratory ruling. So I think either avenue, and also just any stay of an enforcement, I think either way, we're probably immediately in Superior Court on 3 different levels. Trying to enjoin enforcement, trying to ask for a stay, appealing, asking for a declaratory ruling. I just view that as the inherent next step where we have to be, which I'll be quite frank. I mean, I was talking to Mr. Forget earlier. This is the first time I've put on a suit in 4 months, and it's argue about water slides. But it is what it is. It's an important component. It's a summer tradition. It's a good family-run business. It's an important component to their offering, and we think we're in compliance. And it's something, there's enough grist there to warrant going to Superior Court over it. I don't want to be there. I don't think any one of us want to be in Superior Court arguing over this if there's a path forward to have a good relationship. And inherently when we're involved in litigation, even if you try to separate them in your mind, it draws it back over there. But if we have to, we have to. I mean, you got to protect our rights, and we want to be respectful to this board and all the agencies.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
From my perspective, I have all the votes I need, and I think Emily has all the votes
Yes.
she needs to be able to do our respective jobs. What I'd suggest as a way forward is that Emily continue to monitor the site and to monitor compliance with her existing order, because there is an order in place and Emily, you chime in if you think I'm going astray here. Emily reports to us as to how that's going. I would like to get a sense from someone as to what the state is intending to do with regard to its own order. I don't know that we necessarily want to fight the state's fight. So I'd like to know what they're up to. And maybe that's something you and I can talk about, and maybe the board, Kristen can, through her connections.
I did speak with Mr. Flanagan this afternoon.
Good.
And he mentioned that they were citing them and they were fining them $300 a day, beginning today.
Well, they got to go to court to collect. So, these state orders are paper tigers until somebody takes them into court.
You know better than I do.
Well, I've been doing Board of Health enforcement stuff for 32 years. So,
that's why we're happy you're here.
But anyway, I guess maybe we can get a sense of what the state intends to do on its own. Tom, maybe as we get reports back from Emily, maybe we can, setting aside the state issue, we can work out some type of consent agreement, and we'll just where the state ends up. Does that sound reasonable to everyone?
It does, but I have to say this. In all honesty, I know the Forges, they're good people. I understand all that. But this is a pandemic. This is something we haven't seen in my lifetime. I'm 70 years old and I've never seen anything like this. People are dying. This is killing people as they gather. Now, Keith, you may not like what I'm going to say, but this is a fact. Other businesses are doing what they have to do to get the job done. We all have to do our part. And that's the way I feel.
Well, it's eloquent. It's eloquent. You know, and maybe if I could just piggyback on what you said, another source of concern is, of course, that, you know, because it's such a successful business, and I think we all congratulate the Forgets for that,
Absolutely, absolutely.
but it draws from across New England. And
Yes,
so this isn't a case where we're dealing with, say, a local bar where, you know, the patrons are local, and if there's a problem, it's just going to stay local. Not that that's a good thing on its own, but this is something that has a regional implication because you're so successful and you've got people coming in all over.
right.
So really, Mr. Chairman, just to follow what you're saying, Keith, we've got to get this right, okay?
That's right.
So,
That's right.
so and I, you know, I appreciate those comments, and we're certainly trying to get it right. And you brought up a good point of, you know, having, you know, certain amount of success. It shouldn't be lost, hopefully, on this board. And in connection with talking about water slides, and it might seem trivial, but there's actual good jobs to, you know, local people that are connected with those, and there's individuals that will inherently be losing their jobs because of having to shut down certain components of operations. And, you know, that's, I mean, and I'm not minimizing by any means any health impact. You know, I take this all very seriously. You know, I know people personally affected and otherwise, but, you know, we're trying to, you know, comply here, but it has to be sort of a holistic thing. You know, to the extent that we can figure out something on these slides, Rich, I mean, we will have to, just to protect ourselves, we're going to have to act on our end, you know, sooner rather than later. So I'm not sure what you envision as far as tomorrow or even this weekend, as far as connecting and trying to figure out that conversation with DLS, because we inherently are going to have to start the mechanics on
Well,
any litigation on that.
well, look, Tom, on the, you know, we're sensible to the protection of jobs. You know, certainly the latest economic figures aren't very promising, but I've got a picture, you know, right here of a bunch of Keith's employees sitting on the top of one of the water slides, maybe 2 feet apart from each other. Not one of them has a mask on.
That was my question. I was wondering, as far as violations have been, had the last 2 weeks where this sort of came to head, has there been any attempt to follow any of the recommendations? Because, I mean, as far as I see, there's still no mask being worn. There's still no social distancing. There's just essentially total disregard for what people have asked. So, I mean, I love the water slides. You know, I grew up here. My question is really, is there any evidence? I mean, because Tom keeps mentioning we have no problem negotiating some sort of deal. So my only question is, has there been any attempt to comply in any way with anything? I mean, are the people at the top of the slides wearing masks yet after the last 2 weeks?
No, the answer. Oh, I got a picture. There's there and the employees with no.
So there's zero attempt to comply. So that's sort of like
I think Mr. Forget wants to be heard here.
Actually, I'm going to speak first because I have been there, and I am going to say that I know Bob even went down and asked them to put more signs, and we have seen some more. I haven't been back. I know they were supposed to get some signs up today or yesterday, and I need to also look at if there is markings on the ground. That's what I need to go look for. Those are the two things that I was really hoping in good faith by the next time I was going to go there, that would be there 100%, as well as the last time I went there, and the time before I went, 2 times ago before I went, they didn't have the list posted, that the checklist that the employees are supposed to go through. And I asked them to hang it, and luckily last time I went, Lauren did that for me. So I know that they have at least been working on those couple of matters, but as far as masks and social distancing, I haven't seen any improvement.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that's a real, and I don't use this word lightly, a real killer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think Mr. Forget, if he just be briefly heard here.
Mr. Forget? Keith, you have
We
something to say?
we have added the signs. The signs have been all added. We've been adding signs constantly since the beginning. And when you came up and said you wanted to see more signs, we added those signs. There are cone markers now in front of the concession stand on the ground that have been in for the past couple of days that are on there. There are cones on the slide that are 12 feet apart, not 6 feet apart. There's only one line up the slide for 3 slides. And only people that are come together in those small groups can wait at the cone 12 feet apart. Now, at the top of the slide, the employees don't have masks because you can't hear anything up there. It's not like a conversation I'm having with you right now. All 3 slides are running rushing water. There's kids up there laughing, talking. Some of them, we have autistic kids daily, we have deaf kids daily. We have kids with all different types of special needs that come and ride these slides because they're not big, crazy slides, and they can ride them with their parents and so on and so forth. And water safety, according to the CDC instructors, do not need to wear masks because water safety comes first. And all our other lifeguards on the lake are socially distanced, are up on 6-foot-high lifeguard stands, and they have to monitor the lake and all the safety that comes first before that. So they need to talk on radios, they need to blow whistles, they need to yell.
Yeah, Keith, I see what you're saying about the lifeguards, and naturally the Board of Health will have the final say on it. But no, that makes sense. The one thing that concerned me though was the people on top of the water slides. They're so close, and I understand it's hard to hear up there, but if you're going to have people in that close of proximity, you got to do something, man.
It's not, and there's one slide that's by itself, and then there's 2 slides that are 6 feet apart. So I don't know where the picture's taken from, but if the picture's taken from the street, it's a totally different scenario how much room there is up on that top starting pad.
Can I suggest something, Emily? Can you take a look at that and just see? I mean, Keith's made a good statement there, but will you take a look at it? And Keith, invite her in so she can get an up close on it, so she can take a look and just make a judgment as to whether it can be done or how it should be done.
If we could do that before we open or after when we close, so that she can just come up and see that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but Keith, it depending on Emily's schedule too, she probably is going to want to see it when it's in full swing, because when the place is empty,
That's fine. I was just trying to make it so that's fine.
No, yeah, I mean, great. I know you're trying to help. No argument there.
When it comes to other lines, though, I have to say nobody was social distancing. Even, they get packed at 8:30. People are waiting to go in there at 9, and everybody's squished together. Nobody's wearing a mask. And I'm not sure, do cones count as markers? You know what I mean? And we need something that is firm in place and not that is always going to be there for people. People can move the cones.
Can I speak to that, please? We are in no way taking this lightly. It's almost all my family is involved in this. This is our life. We have someone on the outside now separating people in line in the morning, making sure there's space between groups outside in the parking lot. We have someone crossing them on the street now. We have someone where they pay, making sure they're separated between the groups. And this is not a big place either. And when people see and we're at capacity, we are not at regular year capacity. We are at COVID capacity. which is about 35 to 40% of our normal capacity. I'm not going to overload my park so that violations happen and to do something that's my life, my blood, sweat, and tears. And I sit personally right in front of the concession stand daily monitoring. So if there's cones there, and they move them, we're right there with staff moving them right back. I mean, this isn't something that a cone gets moved and then no one touches it for the rest of the day. We're on top of this because we have to. We've been doing this long enough. Thank you.
Keith, can I ask you something?
Yes, go ahead.
Don't you think we could solve a lot of this if you just had the people wear masks like they should?
The people, I don't know, I'm sorry, which people?
You know, if they were just to, you were just to tell the people as they're coming in, you have to wear a mask.
I mean.
We could solve a lot of problems like that.
I don't know if it's going by and taken, saying there's no mask, but almost everybody in line today had a mask on. Almost everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. I understand that. I understand you can't follow all these people around and say, "Hey, put your mask on." But if you're making that attempt, you know that goes a long way.
We are.
That's my point. Hey, you know, Keith, I've known you since you were a little kid. You're a friend of my son's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love your father. He's a great guy. I love all of you. You got to do the right thing. Bottom line, you know. This is trying to help you out.
I know, and we've done everything that you've asked so far. Done this signs. I got more staff now.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, I want you to succeed like any. You know, I'm all for small business. You know that.
I know.
I want you to be successful, and I think everybody on the board feels the same way. We're just trying to help you, really.
I know.
Okay. No offense.
I know.
So I think Rich might have frozen up there. It seems like.
Okay.
So as far as next steps, it sounds like Emily, you're going to make a trip out there to take a look at that top partition there, that top part of the slide. I think it sounds like, I don't want to speak to the board about sort of next steps without Rich being in communication, sure. But it sounds like we'll be having sort of a rendezvous with Rich whenever he perhaps tomorrow morning or something like that, to try to figure out next steps of moving forward on this.
Well, hopefully we can resolve this, without going to court, without, that nuisance hanging on our back. So if you're all set, then I guess we can close out the meeting. Do you have anything else to say, Tom?
Keith, did you have anything else you wanted to address to the board, or?
No, I'm like I said, I'm willing to work with and any recommendations, I'm looking forward to.
Okay, good. That sounds great, Keith. Love you, boy. Okay. Okay, any comments, please? Everybody? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.